your hand up at any time, move around, have your camera off, on, whatever you feel comfortable with, but try to be respectful of anybody else who's speaking, and obviously keep your mic off if that's possible, okay? And the chat's open, so you can put stuff in the chat in relation to who you are, why you're here, maybe even. We did talk about nicknames, so if you want to put your nickname in, that's great. But James says his was too rude for school, so I don't know. I'm thinking McKee. I wonder what. Anyway, I'll come back to that. I'll get that math after the meeting. Right, so we have, as I say, a very tight agenda as always. So we've got a tight hour, and we've got the first presentation from Kathy and Rachel from Alzheimer's Scotland, which is great. I'm assuming they're on the call, guys?
I'm here, yeah.
I'm
not sure if Rachel's here, but I'm here, and Rachel may
Okay.
join us, so yeah.
Are you comfortable enough to begin?
I can, but I'd quite like to, at some point, share my screen, if that's okay. So,
Well, we'll get you to do that, but before
Yeah.
you do that, can you show the, sorry, Ross, can you show the agenda? Is that okay?
Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
That's my fault.
I've jumped the gun. Cool. There you go.
Okay, so as I say, we welcome for myself, and my name isn't Alice, it's Alan McNiven, just for those who don't know. And we've got obviously Alzheimer's Scotland presentation, and we've got DigiRen Directory, DigiKnowVember Planning. That seems like a long way away, but it's not going to be a long way away at all, as usual. Digital Impact Report, Future Spotlight Sessions, and Automatic Onboarding, which will be an interesting one, because I don't know what that is at all, Ross. So is it any day to go on your holiday?
If only, yes. It's not surfing, unfortunately.
Okay, right. Well, okay. We'll hammer through these, and as I said, we'll all be an hour, folks, and James and Ross know that they'll keep to time. So we'll give the sort of the bulk of the opportunity to the Alzheimer's Scotland Cathy to give us their overview in terms of the online tool. Adam, online tool, can we pass on then? Is that okay? And Ross will get the screen sharing happening. Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. That's great. Thank you very much. Thanks for having me along, folks. So yes, as touted, Kathy Wells from Alzheimer's Scotland, where I'm a digital advisor with my colleague Rachel McLaughlin, who may be joining us. Rachel and I cover the whole of Scotland, providing digital advice for people living with dementia and their families. And the digital advice we provide is around everyday digital technology. So all of the things that you might be able to go out and buy for yourself, things that you can go and buy in Argos, things you can buy off Amazon, nothing too specialist, but one of the big asks from families has always been, what's the right thing? When people have a long-term condition in their family, they want to run around, they want to make everything as good and as positive as possible for their families, and what they don't want to do is invest money in something that isn't going to work for them. So more than 5 years ago, we put together a test of change project to look at developing a tool where we could highlight or catalogue the digital things that would be helpful for families. And we thought about how we would choose these things, and we decided that we would use our Dementia Circle. Dementia Circle is a way of bringing together people with dementia to test products, and it's been going with Alzheimer's Scotland for about 11, 12 years now, and started out by looking at things like furniture, cups, see-through jars for putting in your cupboards and things like that. But we then sort of moved it along to start looking at digital tools, and we got families to test stuff for us and basically tell us whether things worked or didn't work. And also we asked families if they could also make suggestions as well for things that other families could benefit from. So over time, we have built up a catalogue of around 70 different things. And in 2019, we got some money from the Scottish Government and decided that we would put together our online tool called Adam, and Adam stands for About Digital and Me. And I just saw on the slide there, Ross, that you've got meetadam.org, but that works, but we are now meetadam.com, but that works. We're now using meetadam.org, so we've got a redirect on the .com. So Adam's been a long-term project for us. It was a sort of put out there as a project. As I say, it was Test of Change, funded by the Scottish Government. And about 2 years ago, based on the feedback that we'd had from the first 3 years of operation, we did a bit of started a revamp of Adam, which took us a bit longer than we expected, to try and make it as user friendly as possible, so that when families go on there, they find it as easy as just going on Amazon to find something. There are a couple of key things about Adam before I show you Adam. One is that we don't have links to sales, because we want to remain completely unaffiliated from any company. So everything there is completely coming from the dementia community. It's user voice led. We're not affiliated with Amazon or with any of the other products that you might see. And that's really important for us, that we have that sort of product neutrality, because it allows us to test things and not sort of have sponsorship deals or people getting directed towards certain products. We are very, very much as person-centered as we can. And part of the Adam tool was to also highlight what people in the dementia community thought of all these things. So all of our products have reviews associated with them as well, or most of our products have reviews associated with them as well. There's a few missing, but they will be there in due course. So we hope that what we have achieved is something that is by the community for the community, and we hope that the current iteration of the website is as easy to use as possible. We can always make improvements. There's always things that we would like to do with Adam, but we're a charity, and sometimes these technical developments rely on external funding coming in. So we're always willing to take on suggestions for how we can improve things with Adam. But yeah, what we would like you to do is have a look and bear in mind, in particular, that while it is sort of dementia focused, the tools there are useful for most people with long-term conditions. So obviously we're Alzheimer's Scotland, so Alzheimer's and dementia is our focus. But if you're supporting people who have long-term conditions, Adam may be just as useful to them to help them discover digital tools that will support them. So if it's okay, can I take over the sharing so I can just pop onto the Adam website? Hopefully this will work. There we go. Okay, can somebody just give me an okay? They can see that, a thumbs up, or fantastic, that's great. So meetadam.org, it's discoverable if you want to Google it. You don't have to have the web address. When people come here, they will initially see that they can watch a video, and the video shows them how to navigate through Adam. The video is narrated by people with dementia and carers, so again, very user voice centric. And we have a bit of a blurb about who we are and what we do and why you can trust. And there are frequently asked questions for people to go to before they go and have a look at the site. And then we've got some more videos at the bottom with people who have used Adam, telling you about how they've used it and the benefits they found from using Adam as well. And these videos are starting to be refreshed as well. So there's a lot there even on the front page to tell you about what Adam is and what Adam does. But you'll see right at the top, and this is actually the newest part of Adam, we've got something called, we've got the search bar. We didn't have a search bar when we first started, so based on user feedback, we decided to put in a search bar. So I could put something in there like, let's say, GPS tracker, and search and see what I get. And I will get 10 products recommended to me, and I can browse through those, and I can find out, oh, that looks nice, or a free app. I wonder if I could do that. I've got a phone, it's a free app, what does it do? And I can go through, I can get information about what it is, and then I get lots of information about how easy it is to use, setup time and costs. I can see where it's available to buy, but there's no links to buy, so I've got to go and do that myself. And there's some good to knows. It's free, but you know, I can get additional features if I pay. It's integrated with other things. And then at the bottom, I've got some reviews. And I can see how people living with dementia or their carers have actually used this particular thing. So hopefully, as a person sort of dipping in perhaps to digital for the first time, maybe a bit bewildered by everything that's going on, because if you go out onto Google and just Google trackers, you'll get about 10,000 results. Whereas if you come here, you'll get 10, and you'll get some actual feedback from people who've used these things. It could be I don't really know what I want, but I've got concerns. So I might say, oh, well, I don't know what technology I want. So why don't I just say I'm worried about safety? So I can search by a concern, and I can put in safety. And as you can imagine, with a term like safety, you get a lot of recommendations on Adam. So there are 19 products here for you to have a look through. Things like a see-through kettle, a magic plug, which isn't really digital, but it stops you from flooding your kitchen or your bathroom. Trackers again, but lots of other things as well. Ring doorbells and so on and so forth. So that's how people can search through Adam. However, they may feel that they've got a pretty good idea of what they're looking for. So they might just want to browse, and they can browse through our entire product catalogue if they want, or they can browse by a particular issue that they might have, feeling on top of being a carer, having a safe and happy home, for example. So I can go there and it will narrow down the results for me and show me things like simplified TV remotes and so on and so forth. But there's also a third way of looking around Adam, and that's called Get My Recommendations. And this is where we've got a little smart engine working in the background. And you can answer questions about yourself, and it will hone down the results for you. Now, one of the bits of feedback was that the more questions you answered, the more results you got. And that's still the case. But what we have done now is we've limited the number of results you get to 10. And if you don't find anything in those 10, you can go on and see the next 10 and the next 10. So we've tried to make Adam as user-friendly as possible and have all these different ways of accessing it. Adam is a living project, so we're adding things to it all the time. We're running dementia circles. We run a few every year to find new products, and we're always open to suggestions of products, including apps from the dementia community. But Adam is for everybody to use, so please give it a shot, have a look, have a browse around, and please recommend it to the people that you're supporting. Thank you.
Kathy, that's brilliant. That was really good. Now, I think just at the end there when you were saying it's for everybody, there's a degree for me, obviously it's aimed at that Alzheimer's community, but the reality is that a lot of the stuff you were showing there has multiple sort of potential for disability and operational and isolation and all these other aspects of how we all live today. So that was really, really good. I've got some questions, but obviously I want to open it up. So a lot of hand clapping going on there. So people obviously enjoyed the presentation. And I think the look of the site's really fantastic as well. So is there any immediate thoughts or questions anybody wants to ask? Just feel free to jump in. I'm not going to do any choreography here. Just go for it.
Hi, Kathy. Bernie Riley here from the Health and Social Care Partnership. And it's great to see it. We're actually looking at the dementia strategy, the national, and what locally we're going to be doing going forward. So that's a great website. You know what I mean? I'm going to send it on to a few colleagues just now as well, just to let them see it. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yep.
Wonderful.
Fantastic.
Ross, you want to come in?
Sure. Yeah, I just wanted to add, I know I've said this to you before anyway, just in the meeting before, but just having this tool is really cuts a lot of work for us, because I get asked this quite a lot for the older people we work with for what sort of technology will work. I often get contacted by families and carers asking what sort of equipment will work for people. So for me, it really does save a lot of time being able to find everything in one place, and the fact that it's been reviewed or looked at is a huge bonus to me. I know lots of people will find this across all the different sectors, including our digital champions as well, being able to access things like this and get this information. So definitely looks great, and we'll definitely be keeping that on our information radar.
Thanks, Ross. Thank you.
Fantastic, James.
Thanks, Alan, and thanks, Kathy. Yeah, a fantastic presentation and overview of Adam. I suppose it's more about I think I can see real potential around Alzheimer's Scotland's being part of this wider and ever-growing network. So if you're not already a member of it, I know you've been invited on today, I think this is something that can add real value to the network and to our members. So if Alzheimer's Scotland would like to become part of DigiRen, I think that would be very much welcome.
We'd be delighted to do that. I mean, one of the issues for us is that Rachel and I are covering the whole of Scotland, but I'm in Edinburgh and she's in Glasgow. So we have been very Glasgow, Edinburgh centric. What we really want is to stretch out so that we can give support to people living with dementia in other areas. And if that's through the medium of working with people like yourselves, that's absolutely what we would like to do.
Thanks, James. Thanks, Kathy. A couple of questions for me, if that's all right, folks. I was wondering, one of the comments I wanted to make was see that you came towards the end of the presentation, you put up those questions. Mm-hmm. I think that's one of the things, if you don't know what you're looking for, sometimes it's good to see a list of questions that are like I'm worried about safety or whatever it happens to be, you know. So
Mhm.
you just click on that and it takes you to the stuff you want to see. So it's great not like a blank page. And I was wondering about those, were they created with the support of people who are dealing with maybe care or Alzheimer's itself?
So those questions are based on the 3 conversation model, which you may be familiar with.
Yeah.
So these questions are surfaced by talking through workshops, working with people living with dementia and their carers. So think some of the questions are, what looks like a good day to me? And then it might be, you know, meeting friends for a coffee, going out for a walk, watching my favorite programs on the TV, you know. So that's how we surface all those things to put into the questionnaire. And the questionnaire we can refine, so if things change, so if something new comes across the horizon, we hopefully can incorporate that into the questionnaire as well. But when we do, we will always run it past the dementia community before we add in any questions. We're very lucky at Alzheimer's Scotland, we have a Scottish Dementia Working Group, which is people living with dementia. So they're always on hand to give us really good critiques of anything that we change. And they're very vocal. So if we get it wrong, they tell us. So yeah.
That's what you need. You need a vocal group. I was wondering as well, but and by the way, see the question, what makes a good day to you? You know, that would the question. I think that should be in everybody's website. Do you know what I mean? Never mind, because I mean, I think that's answering the question that we all want answered. Really, you know, is how do we get the services we need in our lives? So I think it's a great one. Maybe one Phil will take away. You know, what does the council just put it on their website? You know, what makes a good day to you? Well, that'd be, you know,
it'll still be bins and parking.
Potholes, mate, you know, absolutely.
Potholes,
No,
yeah.
But, I think it's a great question, it really is. It's really, really, really interesting. I was also wondering about, you said there about it being a live website. So have you got a commitment in terms of funding towards it to continue to?
Yeah, we've got we've got a sort of maintenance with it, so that just keeps everything nice and tight. So if we spot any errors or anything goes wrong, we've got that. But also, because Rachel and I there's a sort of CMS in the background, so at any point we can go in, we can change products, we can put different photographs in. If we get new reviews, we can change the reviews around and stuff like that. So we want to keep it as lively as possible. What we don't want is people to go back and go, oh, there's nothing new on Adam, so I won't bother going back. We want to make changes, and we want to add new products in. And sometimes we take products away because they're no longer available as well.
Yeah, sure. Listen, it's great, and my brain's doing that thing of is other things connected in, but I think we've done fair to sort of keep pestering you about this, but I'm sure everybody will look at the site. We'll certainly circulate it to our membership. We've got sort of a number of sort of outlets that we can do that on, and maybe look for some feedback. There's a couple of key groups in Renfrewshire, Row, reaching older adults in Renfrewshire, for example, that I'll be sending it directly to the Chief Executive so that she gets a sense of that. And I imagine, as Bernie said, there'll be a number of people in our minds that were thinking it'd be good for them to see this, and we're pinging it towards, you know, in terms of the carers, etc., etc. So we'll make sure that happens.
Yeah.
But I don't know if anybody's got any final points for Cathy, but I think it was a great presentation and right on time. Phil, sorry.
Sorry, just last one and coming in with as the harbinger of doom at the end. I really apologise because I always do. Cathy, I'm Architecture and Technology Manager for the council, so I've got a remit around all technologies, obviously for the council, but within that is cyber security as well. And I can see that we've got Joyce from a team on as well. So we're just always cautious to advise and maybe just ask the questions around to make sure that anything that we advise people to go and look at online is secure, etc. So if there's anything around putting personal information into a website or a system, then just to make sure that the suppliers or the platform itself has the appropriate security controls around it before we sort of advise people to go off and start putting their details into these things. I'm sure it is, but we just have to raise it and just make sure
it is. It's within our AWS platform, so it's managed by the security around the whole of Alzheimer's Scotland. So you can imagine we hold a lot of personal data within Alzheimer's Scotland, so you can imagine that's pretty secure. It's well certificated, and the other thing is that we don't actually ask for any personal data to be input into the website. So, that was a deliberate decision to make sure that we didn't sort of trip ourselves up with personal data. So, my colleague Rachel, she'll probably come in and say a bit more about that.
Yeah, we did start when Adam was in first development a couple of years back. We did start by wanting to create a personal login for everybody, but it ended up being a lot more complicated. And actually, what Adam's ended up, the end product of Adam is actually like Cathy saying, it's free of anybody having to put in their personal information. We don't collect any of that anyway. So really what we want people to use is just to know it's a free resource, and it's there for sort of navigating through that. There's no pressure to go ahead, for instance, why you don't buy anything from the site as well. So yeah, to just give you a wee bit of reassurance on that.
That's perfect.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah.
Thanks, Phil, Kathy, Rachel. I think it's a great presentation. I'm just conscious of time as always with this tight agenda we have, but I really appreciate you joining us. The point from James about joining us on a regular basis, Kathy or Rachel or both of you, whatever. It's an open meeting. We don't have a we don't have a constitution. It's just a sort of grouping that people come together and we do a real fast hour on this stuff. So there's usually something that's worthwhile. You can have it on in the background. Have your coffee, just have it sitting there, and when you hear something interesting, jump in. All right, magic. That's great.
Fantastic. Thanks for having us. That's great. Thank you so much. Bye just now. Bye. Bye.
We'll move on then, and we'll have the DigiRen Directory with Ross. Is that okay?
Sure. I'll just get the slide for this. Okay, so you could cast your minds back to last year. We asked if anyone in DigiRen would like to be listed on our DigiRen directory, which is hosted on the Engage DigiRen page. So this was going to allow people greater visibility and accessing digital support across Renfrewshire. So for the 15 or so organisations that gave us their details for this listing, Kate Grant at Engage currently has the information, and she's looking into the best way to display it on our page, because it is quite a bit of information, and we know there's quite a lot on the page already, so just trying to make it accessible as well. So while we're waiting for that to be finalised, what I'm going to do is just share the link for yourselves as well for the join-in form, and I'll also put the QR code on the screen. Just for anyone else that would consider joining the directory as well, because it will be a list that's grown this year. Despite the delay last year, unfortunately, it's partly the way I created the form, which we'll go through in a second, but also it was quite a busy year in terms of the launch of the DigiZones and DigiKnowVember, so we've got time now to look back at this. So it will give organisations greater visibility and help to strengthen our community partnerships. So you'll see the link in the chat as well, and just to give you some information about the form, it only does take a few minutes to complete, but there's two main things that are worth considering beforehand for the directory. So you might want to think about which details you're including in this form. So we're specifically looking for your organisation's contact details. So it's generally going to be the main public contact for your organisation. But if that does happen to be yourself, if you're the person that would normally be listed publicly for that, that's absolutely fine as well, and you can include those details. I just wanted to make that distinction. And secondly, it's always worth just checking with your organisation if you need to, if you have permission to put contact details up in other places. Again, sometimes that's just a bit of housekeeping for organisations in terms of knowing where numbers are stored and if they need to send updates or things like that, so that it doesn't come out of date. So again, you might be in a position where you know that that's not an issue. It's up to yourselves, but definitely we've got a wee confirmation at the start for that. So the rest of the form is actually just eight questions, all quite basic. So things like your name, contact numbers, email addresses, and things like that. There's only really one main question that you would have to think a bit more about for the directory, and that's which digital supports you offer. So things like access to device or equipment, internet access, digital skills training if it's happening on site, if you offer any kind of digital champion support, or online safety ambassador support, or it could be some other kind of support as well. And the one thing I'd definitely underline with this, because I know we're all part of DigiRen here and we all have quite different services in terms of offers, is just you can definitely join the directory if you're not offering these things as well. We're also looking for organisations that can signpost, and there's actually lots of other functions organisations do anyway in terms of collaboration, so don't let that put you off anyway. It's always handy having more contacts out there that can match people up to the right service, and your service might be the one that somebody is wanting to access for something else anyway, so it could definitely be relevant. So definitely have a look at that form and see if it's something that you could maybe commit to. And again, I'll let the organisations that have already given us information know when that information's up online. But you can check the DigiRen Engage space in the near future as well, and just see if anything's been put up. I'm just going to share that in the chat as well, just for anyone that's missed that as well. So there we go. That's the DigiRen network page on the Engage website. So again, it's always worth bookmarking for any things, including future meeting dates. I think that's everything, James. I don't know if I've missed anything on that.
Yeah, no, I think that's, yeah, you've covered everything. The only thing I would add would be is that obviously DigiRen network, we meet every 8 weeks or so. What the purpose, or one of the reasons behind this directory, is to enable that greater collaboration out with those 8 weekly meetups. And as Ross said, even if you don't deliver digital inclusion activities, having being able to have your organisation promoted would hopefully enable that greater opportunities and awareness of what exists, not only across Renfrewshire but beyond, because we're conscious that we have a number of national organisations part of Renfrewshire DigiRen as well.
Yeah, definitely a good point there. Okay, if we're all okay with that, if anyone's got any questions, particularly about the directory, you could ask now, or feel free to just drop us a wee message as well, if you're having thoughts about it. I'll just move on to the next topic. Here we go. So
any questions on that at all from folks? I would just say that the interesting thing for me is I kind of read across to the wider membership of Engage Renfrewshire, where there's about 400 organisations who are doing kind of, I suppose, social intervention type services, you know. So, you know, having the two networks on the kind of one site, if you're already part of Engage, that's great. But obviously, if you've got that, you've got your information up there, you might find yourself looking at the other bits on the site, and it might sort of pique your interest in sort of other ways you could be working and using your connections to help others. I think the point Ross makes about just don't worry if you don't deliver it. You might know somebody who does, which is always the aspect of any good network. You can always pass somebody on. Okay, sorry, James.
No, all good, all good. Or is this part of DigiKnowVember? Sorry. Yep.
DigiKnowVember, yep.
So DigiKnowVember, in terms of the planning, last year DigiRen hosted its first ever Digital Inclusion Week called DigiKnowVember. You can hopefully understand how we got to that name, bringing DigiKnow and November into the one mix. And it was very successful. It was over 5 days in November. To be honest, we were hoping that maybe one event each day, so five events over the 5 days. What very quickly turned into a fantastic and overwhelming response from our partners, resulted in around 30 events in person, hybrid, online, etc. Taking place during that week, which resulted in, I think, over 400 attendees at the various sessions. So again, just wanted to thank everyone in every organisation for contributing in making it a success. We've had some discussions around DigiKnowVember hosting it again, and some of the feedback noted that it would have been helpful for the events to be spaced out, because there was multiple events taking place at the same time, and people would have liked to attend one or more of the events. So based on the feedback, we've taken that into account, and what we're hoping and keen to get everyone's views on the call is that rather than just DigiKnowVember being 5 days events in November, that we actually extend it to the whole month of November. We know that there's a number of organisations deliver digital inclusion supports week in, week out. We know that these are at set times, and it's very much about amplifying that messaging. So, Sally, I'm going to pick on yourself here in terms of digital champion support. Thursday afternoon, 2 o'clock till 4 in Paisley Central. Hopefully, I've got that right. And so that's ongoing. Gillian McFarlane, we know that you deliver multiple digital online sessions each week to your service users, which is fantastic. So it's about gathering and collating all this information and making people aware of it. Another feedback was that can this continue in terms of the events that took place? So rather than making it a one-off, how do we find out more about this? And hopefully by having a full month's event that will stimulate more interest in the various initiatives that are underway. Again, DigiKnowVember is a great way for organisations to showcase and highlight. If you're not, or if you don't deliver digital inclusion activity, there's real opportunity to collaborate with others. We saw that at the DigiKnowVember last year, where the Alliance Health and Social Care came together with OneRen Libraries, with the More Collective and SCVO coming together with regards to digital champions, etc. So it was a real collaboration. And in terms of the asks, what we basically pulled together DigiKnowVember in about 3 or 4 weeks, Ross, last year.
Yeah, I think about a month.
So it was a fantastic effort in such a short space of time, but we want to have a longer lead-in time this year so that we can do the sufficient promotion, because again, that was another one about the time taken to promote and sign-ups. So we've taken all that into account, and we basically want to start it now, the planning for DigiKnowVember. And I suppose the asks are around, if you do provide digital inclusion activity each week, please let us know, and we can add that to the calendar of events. We want to start building up that momentum just now. And we're looking to set up a steering group. Last year, I think there was about 4 people on the steering group. There was Alan, in fact 5, Alan, Alice, Kate, Ross and myself. We know that there's a vast experience and skill set and talents out there on both DigiRen and within your organisations. So for example, if a member within your organisations who are not part of DigiRen but specialise in a particular skill such as comms and marketing or social media, we would love for them to be part of this so that we've got their expertise on the table. So if you are interested, or again, if someone better placed within your organisation, please get in touch with Ross and myself, and we're looking to start putting in meetings in the diary so that we can plan for an even better DigiKnowVember and build on the success. Ross, have I missed anything?
I think that covers everything I was thinking there, yeah. I think just starting earlier was one of the main things. Definitely the interest we had. Some of the feedback, actually, it was about the timing of it, obviously trying to fit everything into the time we had. But there was actually quite a lot of feedback as well that we didn't go into as much detail in some of the other chats about people's desire to have more of a sort of say over the campaign and the, like you're saying, the kind of design work side of it, which was great actually. I love hearing that, and I know it's usually the thing people sometimes don't want to pick up on because it can be quite a lot of work. So it'd be great actually if we could look at that with the steering group, and to do this as a group. The other thing I would say is we actually probably got more offers last year in terms of spaces people could use for groups that we weren't actually able to take up because there wasn't enough time basically to match people up with the spaces that were there, or they weren't able to make the slot that was available. So I think starting earlier would probably be able to expand out the venues a bit easier this year. So again, if you're just thinking, do you know what, I can't be part of the steering group, but actually I have a room they could use as well, definitely get in touch and let us know that, because I think the earlier we get these places booked into the diary, the easier it'll be for us to get sessions set up for DigiKnowVember. But like you say, James is emailing myself in the slide as well, but I think you've all got our email addresses probably by now anyway, or pop it into chat and we'll reply to you. So yeah, definitely looking forward to it. And if it's anything like last year, it'll arrive like the click of the fingers.
Is there any thoughts or questions on that? I think I will just say that if anybody's got anything they want to ask James, myself, or Robert about in relation to Ross about the DigiKnowVember, please just get in touch. The main thing for me is that much like James just picked on Sally, that's what we'll end up doing, is picking on folk if you're not careful. So if you are keen, just get involved, Sally. All right. So if there is, or genuinely, it'd be good to get arranged not just skills, maybe sort of representation. I'm thinking, Ross, James, it would be good to get somebody maybe with like a health background, for example, as part of the group, so that we could really target some of the sort of health services, Bernie. Or we could have the kind of conversation around sort of culture and, somebody from, obviously OneRen or whatever it happens to be, or from the university, to put their hands up and say, yeah, I'd be keen to be part of that. I actually had a meeting up at the university recently in relation to wider sort of engagement, and there's a kind of open offer there in relation to the spaces in the university, Ross, in that point of having events in the place. So we've got real opportunity there as well. And obviously there's a huge student cohort at the university, and it might be interesting if we do something around sort of New Scots or ethnically diverse communities within the DigiKnowVember calendar as well, which I don't know if we targeted well enough last time, but there's always opportunities this time too. Okay.
James, just to add to that, and we've got a fantastic representation from our social housing sector. I know Lorna's on the call today, which is great to see you, Lorna. So social housing sector in Renfrewshire makes up around 22,500 homes across the region. There's an established network called Flare that we could link into around with, and I think there's around 14 registered social landlords, so we could really amplify the messaging in there, and how they could support and how they could promote that amongst our tenant base, our customer base, the registered tenant organisations, etc.
Just to say, I've already taken notes to go back to speak to Flare about a few of the things, but particularly about what we can offer, because some of the associations are slightly more experienced digital staff who could probably maybe help with some of the events, but certainly space is one thing that we can offer, is meeting space.
Okay.
So I'll come back to you once I've spoken to them about that. Don't want to promise anything until I've spoken to them.
I would just promise it and then ask for forgiveness. It's fine. I think there's a real good opportunity for DigiKnowVember to grow, and I think the idea of going quite early is great, and having that steering group, but that kind of range of voices on it would be excellent, you know, just that sort of range of expertise, not just around digital, but around sort of how, just what we've seen there from Alzheimer's Scotland, those kind of mechanics of how do you engage with those groups who maybe are a bit less connected to the agenda, maybe through the purposeful action like we've just seen, you know, as a kind of maybe some opportunities around maybe even asking Alzheimer's Scotland to participate in DigiKnowVember would be really useful. So genuinely, folks, if you can give a hand, we would really welcome it. I think that's probably the main message. Is that all right with that one then? But we'll move on to Digital Impact Report. James, for you again, sorry, sir.
Yep, no, thanks so much. So again, this will be very, very quickly. Members will be aware that since I think December 2023, we tried to establish and understand impact of digital inclusion, what we're doing collectively and collaboratively across the region, both again locally and nationally with regards to digital inclusion supports. We started pulling together a digital inclusion impact report and up to December 23, and then last year was based on 23-24 financial year. We'll be running that again this year. I met with the UK Government's Department for Science, Innovation and Technology last week, and that was something that they had asked. It was regarding their spending review, and they asked, how do you measure digital inclusion? Because that was a real challenge that organisations across the UK, not just Scotland, were struggling with. And I explained, as part of DigiRen, we've got this real unique network that we work together. We can demonstrate through both qualitative information, through case studies, testimonials, awards, but also the quantitative side around the number of people supported, number of one-to-ones, number of sessions, number of businesses, how many digital champions we've got across the region, etc., etc. And they were blown away, and they'd requested just to see a copy of one of the reports. I've sent that through to them. So again, it's nationally we're being seen as sector leading around this work, that others could certainly take notice of. And we're keen to start gathering that again. We'll be looking to reach out to all DigiRen organisations around the summer, so that the end of the financial year reporting can be finished. Because we thought if we do it in May, the end of year financial will take priority. So we thought we'll do it around June, July time. And please, we're encouraging everyone. Last year we got about 28 organisations that fed into it. And just to give you a bit of insight what that actually meant, so what that story told us last year based on 23-24 data, supported, so collectively DigiRen members, those 28 organisations supported around 86,000 people to get online. They delivered over 800 digital related courses, supported around 50 businesses around digital, so through our economy and development, through our national organisations, generations working together, etc. They had access at that point to over 100 online safety ambassadors. I know that's grown exponentially. Almost 200 digital champions, and distributed almost 700 devices. So again, these are staggering figures that I don't believe, and I've not heard of any other organisation being able to bring all this data together and this information together. So what we've got here is we can demonstrate how collectively across 5 main sectors, how we're demonstrating impact. So as I say, we'll be undertaking this again this year. And the ask here is that we please be part of this bigger picture, help us to build that digitally inclusive Renfrewshire, close the digital divide, and all the work that you're doing can feed into that, whether you're part of an organisation, whether you're a customer, we want to hear from you.
Okay, James, folks, that's more a heads up for James that we're looking for stuff by the sound of things. So he's going to come into your form. So hopefully everybody's kind of comfortable with that. And I would make it as wide as possible in terms of my response to this. We don't deliver engaged digital services, but we recognise where digital feeds into a lot of the work that we do. So it's making sure that people, you know, the impact report reflects that. It's not just we deliver 100 of these, it's where it connects. And then some of the examples I'm sitting here thinking of, James Ross, is stuff like the criminal justice strategy that's emerging for Renfrewshire and stuff around obviously alcohol and drugs, etc., where digital becomes this aspect of access to information, you know, because we've just seen it again, going back to Alzheimer's Scotland's presentation. If there's a portal or a place where somebody who's returning from prison, for example, can utilise digital in a way that helps them to sustain a tenancy, for example, with a housing association, then that's something we should be alert to in relation to the potential impact of digital. You know, and maybe just to conclude, because I'm kind of aware of time as always, Phil, I was wondering, you know, James says there in terms of sector lead, you know, or sector leading, is there other areas of Scotland who are doing things differently that we should be maybe researching or looking at to bring into Renfrewshire? Is there any other examples out there? I know that's a bit of a wide question, but I just wondered if you had anything in your mind.
I think the fact, I think quite often we're leading on it, actually, Alan, is the issue. I think James has seen that through. I was just thinking there in terms of those interactions with the DSET, with the Scottish Government, with Audit Scotland, etc., where they're going, what are you doing? This is really good. And they're continually asking us for more evidence. So, yeah, I mean, we will certainly look wider in terms of what other people are doing, but more often than not, I'm finding that we're actually leading, you know, and that's testament to the good work in forums such as this and the evidence that we're continually supplying. So I think that's really key to emphasise. Keep giving us that evidence, you know, keep giving us those numbers, keep showing those case studies, etc. But yeah, certainly we'll be we're always looking for somebody else to give us a good idea that we can jump onto, but more often than not, we're passing the ideas out for others. So
fair enough.
Just how it is.
No, that's great. And I suppose that just in what Phil was saying, I keep gaining the information. James Ross, I'm sure you would agree. It's up to the organisation to almost stabilise it. You're not looking for a prescriptive performance report. You're looking for just give us, you know, if it's digital photographs that you've done with some groups around some technology stuff, then that's great. You know, that sort of information has got real value too, right? Okay, I'll move on then because we are tight for time. So look at your inbox, folks, for James's message. He sends a lot of stuff anyway, so you'll not be surprised. Future spotlight sessions then. Yep,
future spotlight sessions. So speaking of forums, we have another forum for you. It's that time of the year again, where we look at what we want to focus on for the year. So we'd just like you to have a look at a list that we're going to share now and choose your top 3 items that you would like to prioritize this year. So I'm just going to pop this into the chat briefly. There we go. So you'll have the link in the chat as well, and I'll just put it on the main screen. So again, it's always worth at the very start of the year just looking at what people's priorities are, what they would like to see in DigiRen meetings, and any sort of topics you'd want to hear about. So this is a right here, right now kind of form. So would urge you just to click that link right now and just choose any of your top 3 things from that list. And if you don't see anything on the list that you would like to focus on, there is a box at the bottom that you can type in your own asks. So we'll just give you just a wee second to put some responses in there. Yep, so it should just take a few seconds, really. Like I say, it's not an exhaustive list anyway, but certainly there's a few interesting things that are creeping onto it that we probably wouldn't have had a few years ago, particularly AI, which seems to be the the main flavour of the year again. I know that made quite a big impact last year when a lot of it was released, but it's definitely moved at a pace that it seems to be getting embedded into quite a lot of technologies. So we've definitely had a lot of questions about that, in particular to do with the accessibility side of things. So I guess it's a case of watch this space and potentially hear more if it's an interest for everyone. Okay, I think everyone should have that by now anyway. I'm just going to move on to the next thing now, if that's okay, Alan, unless
Of course, no,
anyone's
I was just saying I wasn't sure if I was allowed to vote there, but I did anyway, and AI jumped out at me, so there you go. Thanks.
Yeah. Perfect. Okay, I'll move on to the next slide now. So this one should be a bit more straightforward anyway. This is a bit more just information for yourselves now, and just to describe why we're doing this. So basically, we've wanted to. Well, we've looked at a few different ways of getting people added to our DigiRen network before. There's never been a particularly great way through the Granicus site we were using before. And I think a lot of times we were relying on people just contacting us directly. Now, you can imagine yourself how many times you've actually contacted a person to get onto a mailing list. I think when I thought about it, there was probably once in my entire life if I actually sat and typed out an email and said, can you please add me to this mailing list? Normally we get an email in and we just click subscribe, and that's us on the list thereafter. So with the help of Claire Hobson, who works in Renfrewshire Council, I've lost my page here. She does a lot of the software architecture in terms of joining up systems, and she's been helping us to use Power Automate combined with SharePoint to create an automated system for us. So it just means it's a more indirect way, as it says on there, for people to join. No need to contact anyone now. You could just click the link. And again, we're hoping that this will help expand the reach of DigiRen, because I think I'm not saying it puts people off having to contact us directly. I mean, we're obviously always friendly, but it's just an extra step there that's maybe a bit unnecessary as well. And there's always that risk that when people contact us directly, that it might be a day we've got lots of emails in and it might take a week for people to get added and things. Is that human factor that comes into it, especially when things aren't automated. So it takes that off of us as well, and gives you a sort of more direct way of joining. Again, some of the points there it's added about GDPR, about automating the fact that people will be added and removed from the list at certain times as well. So again, it just keeps us compliant with that. And again, it just means that we've got a very up-to-date list to use whenever we need so. So again, we're testing this system. I think it's in the next week, isn't it, James? And just to make sure that it's all working properly. But obviously, if anyone has any issues when it is up and running, you'll likely see the links at the bottom of the DigiRen emails when they come in to unsubscribe or add and things. So obviously, if anyone wants to join it, feel free to forward our email on, as always, to people to get added, rather than having to contact directly. And if anyone has any issues, just get in touch with us again. Any questions about onboarding? I know it's probably not the most... Oh, we've got one from Lorna.
Just double checking. Do we have to onboard again, or is that all? That's all sorted. You don't have to re-register or anything like that. That's fine.
No.
I'll speak. I'll widen out to my colleagues, but I just want to check that we had most of the people already on.
No, don't worry. Yeah, you wouldn't have to re-register for this one. I think before we had to, because this was years and years ago, but they'd obviously changed the GDPR rules, so we had to ask everyone again if they were happy for us to store that. That's not changed, and if anything, it just gives people a more direct way to unsubscribe as well if they would like to. Again, I don't know how many people actually unsubscribe from lists realistically. They usually just disappear and we get a message through. But again, it's handy for us and for yourselves to have these sort of tools available as well. So we'll obviously develop that further.
Okay.
And now that's I think we'll meet. Yep.
That's pretty good. Now, just on the automated situation there. We have, I don't know, it's about 118 or something people this invite goes out to. And we always get a regular, at least 20, 30 in attendance, you know. I know it's 21, 22 on the day. You know, which I think in terms of hit rate, many people will tell you it's pretty healthy, pretty good, you know. And I would just continue to say, whoever you want to invite, you know, and I was joking around a wee bit with Alzheimer's Scotland by having it on in the background, but I do think as long as we continue to keep these meetings short and sharp and some interesting bits and pieces, then it's something people feel comfortable dipping into and coming along to and participating with, and knowing it's not going to eat up their whole day or whatever it happens to be. So, please share it as widely as possible, because again, my real desire, James knows this because I say it often enough, is to have people attend who aren't involved in digital, because it helps them to maybe understand the mechanic of helping their own organisations and the people they support to become, to get the best from it. And I'm not saying everybody wants to be an expert, but the reality is it's just hopeful and sort of gives them opportunities to sort of, reduce tariffs or look for cheaper ways to, get shopping in or whatever it happens to be. So I think it's just something, if we can ask everybody who's interested, just to share it as widely as possible. We're not going to worry about, a lot of faces we don't know being in the room, right? James, Ross, I mean, the more the merrier, I would say, yes?
Yeah, definitely, yeah. And just actually even, again, sorry to pick on you as well, Gillian, I know we've done some work recently as well, but you'd mentioned before about a lot of the digital work we do, sometimes we're the only digital worker kind of embedded in places. So again, networks like this do kind of feel like a wee bit like a wee family. And just to say, from I suppose what Alan's saying there, I actually get quite a lot of emails from people that can't make the meetings, just personally saying, I'm sorry that I can't make it. I don't just get out of offices. So, and I think that's actually quite rare as well, considering it's a large group. Maybe for smaller meetings you might get messages like that through, but considering we're talking hundreds of people, it's lovely to see that kind of community actually.
No, it's positive, really positive. Okay, well, kind of get me the end, folks. So got a wee bit of potential for open discussion on any other points. Is there anything? I mean, I turned to Ross. So James, on yourself, sir.
Sorry, I was literally about to call you Alice here.
That's it. Help yourself.
So Kathy Fraser, the Security and Compliance Manager and RentSafe Online lead, provided me with an update with regards to the work of RentSafe Online. They will be at the University of the West of Scotland on Thursday the 6th of March, hosting a stall around online safety for students during National Student Money Week. A range of issues will be covered around student life, which all link into online safety and money, such as using mobiles, social media, loans, dating, bank accounts, romance, fraud, etc. And they're also looking to host an event during the summer, so keep your eyes peeled for that coming out. I'll pop that information into the chat so everyone's got it.
That's grand. Did you say the university or the college there, sorry, James?
UWS. University.
UWS, thank you. Duncan.
Hi, it's just really to point me in the right direction. I've got a new phone and I am now learning the whole world of AI, which is great. One of the things that came up on it that looks really promising is the translation stuff, when you're texting and saying in real time. And I'm now thinking for our front desk, we've got a lot of immigration comes in and we waste a lot of time with people that come in who have not had a home office decision yet, but they want a house. And we spend a full hour because you've got to just point to saying what languages and get an advisor out, put them in a room, phone the language line, and then it's a whole hour wasted before you're not entitled to a house yet. You need to come back when you get this paperwork. Could we use that in a tablet form at the front desk? Who do I contact that would be the best thing to tell me about AI, how good it is, and what I would do
Absolutely.
to get that up and running?
Absolutely. I'll let James come in, but Phil's obviously put his hand up as well. Is it better, Phil? Phil. Right, Phil.
Duncan, something that we are looking at in the council wider. AI is a massive topic, and I'm glad that it was on the week in a list of potential future sessions here as well.
I checked that myself.
It's pretty complex, Duncan. Unfortunately, I don't have a just do this and that everything's fine. So we're going to corporate management team next week on Tuesday to discuss AI and probably have a future session. There are loads of tools out there that have potentially really good opportunities for us, but what we need to make sure that we also have in parallel to that is the right protections and the right governance around it as well, because there's a lot of risks with these things as well.
Just go and get a tablet and getting AI and away you go.
So please don't do that.
No,
in the first instance.
I've not got the budget to do that anyway. But
but that's certainly something that we'll learn. So even if you want to give me a wee shout at some point, Duncan, I can tell you a wee bit more about, I hate to use the word journey, but that journey that we're on at the moment. We just need to make sure that we've got the right set of protective controls, etc., the right governance around it before we start to really delve into the opportunities with AI. So just give me a shout about that, Duncan, please.
That's brilliant. Thanks very much for that. I'm glad I've put my hand up.
Duncan, I think everybody is in the same page as you in relation to AI. Every organisation that we come into contact with, we are setting up some training for ourselves and for potential members of the third sector, but it's very much aimed at the third sector. There's lots of chat in the sector about sort of bots in relation to help sites and everything else. But everything Phil says there is exactly, for me, the fear is you need to get it right. You can't be something that's kind of half baked and just off the shelf, because ultimately that could be causing more problems than good. So I think it's one of those things. I use it. I'm pretty sure most of the people in the room are using AI to a degree, even if they don't know they are. But I'm certainly using it in an annoying fashion, and I think it's a fantastic opportunity and tool. But I think it's just getting it right for the organisation, and obviously something like the public sector, I guess, it'll be keeping Phil up, I'm sure.
Oh, that's great. Thanks, guys. Really appreciate that.
Ross, sorry.
Just to say, myself and James recently met up with Catherine Parry-Wilkes from the SCVO. She works as a Digital Inclusion Development Officer. So the discussion was around tracking essential digital skills. So it's not something we've actually spoke about for a while in DigiRen, but it is still there. I'm actually just going to pop a link if anyone wants to look at the skills checkup on their website, but I don't know whether I should urging people not to do it yet, because our idea here was to run a session with DigiRen, where they can actually collate the information that people have put into the form and give us our own Renfrewshire-based digital checkup, I guess. So we thought it might be a good idea doing this with DigiRen in one of the future sessions. Just to show you how it all works, actually, what sort of information you could get. So there's two places that you could go and take that information. You could run it in your own organisation for work skills and see how your organisation is doing in general, or you could take it to any clients or members in your organisation and see what their skills are like as well. So again, just as a wee sort of trial, we're always keen on doing things by hand and DigiRen to see how things actually work. So get that kind of on-hands experience. And I know we've spoke about essential skills. Don't think we've ever done this before though. So something to think about for the next session at least anyway.
I would agree that we have to keep revisiting this sort of internal skills check, and it might feel as if we're going back to kind of the start. I don't think that's the case. I think as people join the network, they need to understand that there's this kind of baseline opportunity there, and SCVO are always kind of good at that. They're always good at having this kind of sense check starting position. So I'd be delighted to have that come back, to be sure. So is there anything else from anybody else before we conclude? Anybody who's desperately wanting to speak who hasn't had a chance to speak? No? Okay, well, we'll conclude then. And obviously there's a few asks there from James and Ross in particular. I think, again, I just want to thank everybody for coming along. There's the planner. 24th of April is the next meeting. It's online. We're looking at a hybrid one in June, which should be good. I assume we'll have a chat about where to go with that, James. That's, as I said, the university have been very up for having chats about using the space, etc. So we can have a go at that. But if you wanted to put it in your diaries, but now that you're all being automatically onboarded or whatever, you'll be getting things pinged at you, so don't worry about that, Okay, so with that, 10:59, folks, I'll give you a minute back of your day. All right, enjoy yourselves, and we'll speak soon. Take care.
Thanks, folks.
Bye.
Cheers.
Thank you. Bye.
Cheers, everyone.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you.